Let me see if I can do. Hold on. Let me see if I. Let me. If the people of America won't support Israel, then they'll have to deal with the Islamic jihadists. And if the U.S. doesn't strike Iran, Iran will strike first. Iran has the nukes. The radical jihadis want Americans dead. Don't you get it? We must support Israel. And I'm not going to sit here and deal with these anti-Semites anymore at these college campuses. So we must strike.
Oh, can't hear you.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Thank you for coming. Decided to have a little fun play. Owen Schroyer doing his impersonation of Mark Levin.
Oh, we couldn't tell?
Yeah. All right. We're still waiting on one guest. It's going to be William, but until then, we'll just try to entertain you until he gets here. Now, there's a lot of rumors what Trump's going to be talking about. You know, mostly what I've heard, it's going to be about the 2020 election. And what have you heard?
Well, I mean, I've heard all sorts of things where the mainstream media has actually got caught off guard about this speaking to the nation deal, because in Trump fashion, he just goes to Truth Social and just posts and puts it out there that he's going to be speaking to the country. And, you know, then everybody at CNN and NBC and all that, they're all going, what? What's he going to talk about? So, I mean, we all know what he's going to talk about. Yeah. And because of the midterms and so forth coming up, that's going to be the main thing. But I know we'll talk about the 2020, and we'll talk about what's going on in Iran. It'll make full circle.
I don't know if he'll talk about what's going on with the Iran war all that much. He might talk about that at one point, because he's going to bring up the country, because I think he's going to bring up election interference from foreign nations. I think he's going to bring up, because I already starting to see people use this terminology, say the axis of evil. And I think he's going to call it as Iran, Russia, and China, right? Yeah. Which those are his main adversaries right now he's dealing with in Ukraine and Iran, because with the Russia, Ukraine, and also the Iran war. And the reason that they're the main adversaries is, and my guess, I've seen people also add North Korea to that too. It's because those are the countries that are actually doing a lot of developing of weapons and sending it to Russia to use there. They also sent troops there. You actually have the Chinese there as observers of that war, the Russian and Ukraine war. And now there's rumors that the Russians are going to put troops in Syria to stop the Syrians from going into Lebanon, right? Yeah. And you know, the Russians had two bases there, warm water bases, but they had to actually get rid of them because of Assad being overthrown. And but they still have some logistic reasons why they want to be there, because they don't have any warm bases except for the one they have in Crimea, and the two in Syria were important to them as well. And they're also allies with, obviously, Iran, but also with Hezbollah. Because not a lot of people know, a lot of the drone technology Hezbollah has been using against the Israelis is actually Russian.
Yeah. I lost you there for a second or something.
Okay. Everybody else heard me. But anyway, a lot of the drone technology they've been using in the Hezbollah's been using is actually from Russia.
Oh, well, yeah, I kind of figured that. I mean,
yeah.
Well,
and that's the reason they're going on the border of the Libyan and Syrian border to try to prevent the Syrians, which right now Trump is trying to coax them in invading Lebanon and going after Hezbollah. And he's trying, and you know, controls the Syrian government. It's pretty much Turkey, and Turkey wants to get F-35s. Trump tells us, okay, we'll give them F-35s as long as you get rid of the Russian hardware you just received a couple of years ago, and you do this little favor for me. Get the Syrians to go after Hezbollah. You know, and I'm like this. I just shook my head. I was like, what are you doing?
Well, yeah, it's all politics.
Yeah.
Well, it's his way of negotiating things and so forth. Who's this Matthew? What is that? Castro? I can't pronounce it.
Hi, Matthew.
He's definitely trying to get your attention.
Yeah, I see. Hi. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't have the comments all off to the side. I was.
I see.
Yeah, and then I turned it off. I'll turn it on over here, and I was like, okay, now I see it. Maybe I'll make it better. Everybody can see. Hey.
There we go, right there.
But anyway, in my opinion, this is going to be more of a campaign speech, convincing people, hey, you need to go out there and vote for the Republicans because these Democrats were with help with people out of the country. He's going to bring up, I'm sure, Venezuela as well, especially the Venezuelan government that was there before. Well, actually, it's the same Venezuelan government. It's just you don't have the leader of the Venezuelan government there anymore, Maduro. You know, he's going to mention Venezuela, also Iran, China. China, not only did they get into our election system, they also got into the British election system. But our country, our military industrial complex and our intelligence complex hid that from everybody. Yeah. But the British told everybody that happened to them, and they're up in arms over it and everything else. But under Biden, they decided to hide that fact that they got involved in our elections and got into our election systems.
Yeah. So you say not all the networks are even covering this? Who are we going to be?
ABC, NBC will not cover President Donald Trump's primetime address at 9 p.m. because they do not indulge in conspiracy theories when it comes to election propaganda.
Right.
I couldn't even say that with a straight face.
Well, you did quite well.
What a bunch of bullshit.
So they actually put that out there. That's why they're not, or you just.
Yeah, kind of. NBC did. ABC just said they have other programming they have to deal with.
Oh yeah, we got our regular. Yeah.
I like this. If it was Biden, they'd be doing it, or if it was a Democrat, they would actually be showing it. But instead, it's Donald Trump, and they slipped out what they're going to be talking about, which was a mistake. They should have kept it out there in the void. They don't know we have no idea what we're going to be talking about. Because most people would assume that it would have to do with the Iran war. That was my first assumption when I heard. I'm like, oh God, he's going to try to convince the American people to put troops on the ground. Oh God. Yeah, that's what my first thought was.
Well, I would think because of the American Save Act, all that going on has, probably tie right into, the midterms and all that. So it kind of steered me that direction.
Well, that's true. But the thing is, the big thing right now is definitely the Iran war and people paying attention to that and how it's escalated. And if there's been leaks out to like the Wall Street Journal and other publications that they're talking about putting forces on the ground. And when I started hearing that, then I heard that he was going to do an announcement. I put two together. I'm like, oh, okay, we're going to have a propaganda speech, try to convince the American people we have to do this. That's what I was assuming. It still might be that. We still might see something like that added to it. It may be a mixture of like two different speeches, a speech talking about election integrity and stuff, like something you would see back in Trump's when he was running for office, and also a mixture of maybe George Bush whenever he talked about
Mm.
axis of evil, and that's one speech he did where he talked about Iraq, Iran, and North Korea. Yeah, and I could see something like that, except the axis of evil is Iran,
Well,
China, and Russia.
I'm going to tell you something that I don't know most if other people feel the same way as me, but sometimes when you say, okay, the president's trying to get things going, so he's trying to report to the people, and then sometimes he just, not sometimes, all the time, he has the tendency to expand things a little bit bigger than they really are at times. You know what I mean?
Yeah, propaganda.
Yeah, what do they call that? They
Exaggerating.
Inflates. Yeah, all these
Exaggerating.
nicer. You know, he inflates what's going on. So to me, that kind of cuts into his credibility when it comes to really serious things. And then when he's telling us things, even those that support him say, well, I don't know if that's 100% true or not, so we question it, rather than following blindly like maybe the Democrats did with Biden, which of course we know Biden really wasn't the one talking. I mean, he did what he was told to do. So
well, here's the thing. I completely agree with you. I think he does that a lot. And perfect example is this war in Iran. We've decimated them by 90% their missile capability. Not true. We have destroyed their navy. Not true. We have destroyed their air force. Look, they only had 2 planes. I was like, this really okay. And all those planes are older than me. And I was born in 1979. They're all older than me. And the other thing also, we've won this war 39 times. Which I'm telling you right now, that's amazing. Winning the same war 39 times in less than 6 months. It's great. I'm being facetious, obviously, but the thing is, you can't help but take in stride and just look at it and be like this. Look, man. And even the Pentagon told the Iranians, stop paying attention to what Trump says on Truth Social. The Pentagon told them that. They're like this, look, he's doing that for public consumption for the news media. This is not meant for negotiations or for us talking about what's going to happen after the war or during the war. Don't pay attention to that. And I'm like this. If that's the case, then why should I pay attention to it at all?
Right. Well, and so that's was my concern too, because right away the Democrats come right out and start throwing the stuff in your face. Well, he did this and he did that, and it's like, well, you can't argue with him.
I mean, I remember before this war started, I mentioned to William, I was like, there's something strange going on here. And the first, evidence of it was definitely the files being released when it comes to Epstein. But the next thing I thought was weird is how much money that his sons made in less than a year, or within a year of him being president. And the reason I'm talking about that is because whenever he became president, his son Junior, he's worth about $20 to $40 million, somewhere around there. And now, if you this was actually a year ago, or not a year ago, but after a year of Trump being in office, he's worth over $500,000, or $500 million. I'm sorry, $500 million.
$500 million, yeah.
And then you look at his son and his son Eric. He is worth about $100 million, right? He's the CEO for Trump Towers and stuff like that. So, I understand why he's worth that much. But now he's approaching almost $1 billion, right? He's within that range. And then you have his daughter and his son-in-law, who they were really rich anyway before he got in office. Now they're even more rich. Now, a lot of this has to do with because they got involved in crypto and AI, which explains why AI and crypto definitely influenced this campaign, and they put a lot of money in for him on office. But they have made it where it's easy. Those platforms are making a lot of money in the stock market. Like if you look at what the stock market's really, what's really keeping the stock market so high, it's AI and crypto more than anything else. It's tech companies, And another thing that's actually starting to creep up for them also in the stock market is oil companies, and also what was it? I can't remember what else. I think it's oil and something else starting to creep up to help raise the stock market a little bit, but mostly it's the AI and stuff. And the reason he got into crypto is because he got debanked right back in when he got out of office in 2021 or something like that. He got debanked from like Chase Citibank or Chase, whatever it is, and I think even Bank of America. And then he got into crypto so he could actually have somewhere to put his money, and stuff like that, which I understand that. So, and
it's a kind of a big FU to the banks too.
Yes. And then he created his own cryptocurrency, which a lot of countries decided to invest in so they could get favored with them, which actually rose his profile even more. That's the reason if you look at Trump's wealth, you're asking questions. Why was he only worth about $4 to $5 billion when he got in office? Now he's worth almost $8 billion. You're like this, like what?
In history, have you known any of the president's family that didn't do well or prosper while they were presidents? I mean, it kind of happens just because of the relation, and they get.
If you want to talk about recent presidents, like the last 100 years, you're right. Yeah. But if you talk about the first generations, the ones that founded the country, they almost all went broke.
Oh yeah,
because of the presidency.
Because of the presidency.
Because actually the presidency and how they don't make a lot of money. But I, to be quite honest with you, a lot of them lost their ass being president. And most of them believe it was worth it. And in the long run, a lot of them donated a lot of their whatever was left of their wealth to the country. Martha's Vineyard's a perfect example. And but a lot of these people that when I say recently, I'd say probably my lifetime, majority of these people, yes, they have gotten rich. That includes Congress. I mean, I'm sorry, but Nancy Pelosi wasn't born rich. Not the level she is right now. Don't get me wrong. She was actually well off when she went to a ball in DC when she was a teenager, and she got to dance with JFK. So she was already pretty wealthy anyway, and she was a teenager. So
looks like somebody's going live here. Did you?
Oh, yep. I'm putting it up.
Yeah.
But only if that car is made in America and a 100% expensing for our job time.
You can see it all pretty much here on.
After the worst and safer.
There you go.
Before we begin, I'm proud to report that our country is safer, stronger, and far wealthier than it has ever been before. We are doing great. Less than 2 years ago, we inherited an economic and social disaster. After the worst inflation in 48 years, the wide open borders with millions and millions of people pouring in from all over the world, including criminals of all types, and 11,888 murders, many of whom killed more than one person. We had transgender for everybody, men and women's sports, crime ravaging our cities, and the whole world was laughing at us as a nation, but not anymore. 2 years ago, our country was dead. Now we are the hottest country anywhere in the world, America is respected like we have never been respected before. We have more money being invested in the United States than at any time in the history of our country. More Americans are working today than ever before. This week, it was announced that inflation saw the largest monthly decline in more than 6 years. Just happened. It was just given out. The media reported it, and we accept it. The best in 6 years. The tax cuts in our great, big, beautiful bill are saving hardworking families thousands and thousands of dollars. Like with the provisions, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors, along with the interest deduction on a loan used to purchase a car, but only if that car is made in America, and a 100% expensing for our job-creating businesses. Our stock markets are at their highest point in many years, but we can actually say of all time. And your 401ks, pensions, and retirement accounts are setting records every single day, the highest in history. For years, we paid the highest price for prescription drugs anywhere in the world. Now we pay the lowest price under my most favored nation's policy because I was able to get the rest of the world and the pharmaceutical companies to act responsibly. Drug prices are coming down by 70, 80, and 90%. TrumpRx.gov, this will ultimately reduce the cost of healthcare. You have to go to TrumpRx.gov and take advantage of it. But the cost of healthcare is coming way down because of what we've done with prescription drugs. And with Trump accounts, every child in America now has access to a tax-free investment account to save for their future. Billions and billions of dollars are being invested, put in by companies and individuals to take care of our children so that at age 18, they will have potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars in their account, and they'll get off to a great start in life. So for that, go to trumpaccounts.gov and sign up your child or any child who'd like to sign up. Our previously wide open borders have been transformed into the most secure borders in the history of our country, with 0 illegal aliens being admitted to the United States in the past 14 months. That is 0. Nobody thought it was possible. We had the worst border in the history of our country, and now we have the best. Crime is plummeting nationwide, with the murder rate at its lowest level since 1900, or more than 125 years ago. We're making a record investment in our armed forces, and we have the strongest and most powerful military by far anywhere in the world. I built it during my first term, and unfortunately, we're forced to use it now. We won in Venezuela, which is now working with us to produce millions and millions of barrels of oil. We are likewise winning big in Iran, and you will see the fruits of that labor very, very shortly. America is back and doing really well, but we still have a major challenge that must be urgently addressed, because no country can be great without fair and honest elections. You have to trust your country, because if there can be no trust, there can be no greatness. And that's very simple. No trust, no greatness. For many years, I've called for bold, swift, and decisive action to protect the integrity of America's elections. Every American deserves to know that when they cast their vote, that vote will be counted accurately in a system, and that is to make that system secure, one where cheating and interference are not just difficult, but virtually impossible. Unfortunately, the system we have today falls catastrophically short of that standard. Tonight, I'm announcing the immediate declassification and release of critical intelligence revealing shocking vulnerabilities in our election infrastructure. This evidence shows that the election system we have dangerously exposes and really exposes like levels never thought possible to hacking, exploitation, and foreign interference. Just as disturbingly, this vital information has for many years been covered up and hidden from you, the American people, our beautiful, our great American people. But that all changes right now. The documents we will release starting tonight have been gathered by the White House Government Transparency Task Force, a great group of people, along with the staff of the President's Intelligence Advisory Board, supported by our top intelligence agency chiefs, who have all personally reviewed the findings. We are presenting this evening and fully confirmed their authenticity. You can see these documents for yourself at whitehouse.gov. That's whitehouse.gov. Go check it out. Our purpose in disclosing this information is not to weaken confidence in election, but to earn that confidence by confronting vulnerabilities and correcting them very, very quickly. And that's what we're doing. The documents cover 5 major areas of concern. First, they show that over a period of years, starting during the 2020 election cycle, the People's Republic of China carried out what is believed to be the largest compromise of election data in history, resulting in China's illicit acquisition of 220 million U.S. voter files. That information includes names, addresses, phone numbers, political party preferences, and other sensitive data that would be needed to register to vote and engage in other nefarious activities, which is exactly what was happening. This data loss presents an unprecedented election security nightmare. The intelligence even shows that China assigned a data exploitation unit specifically to this new project. Compounding the travesty, the second set of documents we are releasing reveals that members of the deep state, very, very famous group of people, many cases, in our intelligence agency work to actively suppress and downplay information about the extent of China's sinister election meddling, covering it up from both the president and the American people like nobody thought was possible. U.S. spy agencies began learning about the compromise of voter registration files in 2020 when they discovered that tens of millions of voter data, think of that, tens of millions of voters' data in 18 states have been bought, stolen, or hacked by China. Yet those responsible for sounding the alarm instead kept the information secret and hidden. They did not disclose to me as president or to anyone else, and to the best of our knowledge, they did not inform Congress. In fact, all they kept saying is, this is the most secure election in the history of our country, a standard, very pat line that was divvied out to say. The cover-up of this colossal security breach is even more disturbing in light of the additional information showing that China engaged in other election-related activities to undermine my first administration and our 2020 campaign. They did not want, and they just didn't want it. They fought like hell not to have it, Donald Trump, to win, and for good reason. As the documents we are releasing show, CIA reporting explicitly stated, and I quote, in mid-2018, the Chinese Communist Party's policy was to leverage all domestic and foreign elements that were opposed to the U.S. president in an effort to reduce the U.S. president's votes and make him resign or prevent his reelection. Isn't that nice? Also, in mid-2018, China was working to influence the results of the U.S. midterm elections and later the results of the 2020 presidential election itself. Separately, in mid-2019, the Chinese government's strategy against the United States was focused on undermining domestic confidence in the U.S. president. They wanted to just make you sound like your president wasn't so hot, when actually your president has done a great job and they did everything possible to do exactly that. Going on, this document says, and this is by the CIA, the strategy included efforts to use Chinese contacts with big U.S. companies to influence U.S. business leaders to turn against the President of the United States of America. The Chinese government sought to identify U.S. journalists who had reported negatively on the U.S. president and pay them large sums of money to write more negative articles about him, as many as they could, and they didn't care what they said. The Chinese government wanted U.S. president to lose the next election, and the reason they wanted me to lose is because they knew I was wise to them, charged them billions and billions of dollars worth of tariffs, and built the strongest military anywhere in the world. We have the strongest military anywhere in the world. These are exact quotes from the CIA reporting. The name of the person doing the quote is now under review, but it gets even worse. Raw intelligence obtained by the FBI in 2020, yet buried by rogue bureaucrats, stated that China's activities even included an attempt to manufacture illegal ballots for Joe Biden. Documents show that during this period, dozens of significant CIA and NSA reports about China's election targeting were kept out of the presidential briefing. These were briefings I would get almost every day. Everything was kept out that was of importance. One email among intelligence analysts admitted that they had, quote, deliberately massaged the presidential daily briefing to withhold information regarding Chinese activities related to the election. Another official inside the FBI wrote that she was running, quote, a shadow government, unquote, to keep intelligence about China's election meddling from becoming known and to keep it away from the honorable press. Other officials who witnessed such efforts perceived the motivations to be blatantly political. Recently, we found significant numbers of burn bags in formation, and this is a group of bags that were used to destroy information given by President Barack Hussein Obama to be burned. It was supposed to be burned. These bags were supposed to be at a different level by different people, incinerated and checked, but it never happened. Maybe we got lucky. We believe this was not done on purpose, but rather through gross incompetence of the people that were supposed to burn the bags. But the findings are stunning. Today, I'm asking the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the Department of Justice, the FBI, and the CIA to investigate how and why such crucial information was hidden, to fire those involved in the cover-up, and to file criminal charges, if appropriate, against these people. Yet concealing China's meddling was only the beginning. The third set of documents we are releasing proves that for many years, Americans were blatantly lied to about the security of our election infrastructure, including electronic voting machines and ballot counting systems, dishonest, almost all. They're vulnerable and they're easily compromised, and people within our government knew that. Tonight, we're publishing a series of previously classified U.S. intelligence community assessments and other reports proving that our government has long known these machines are extremely exposed to attack. As one assessment states, we judge that the United States adversaries, including at a minimum Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, as well as non-state groups, have the capability to compromise U.S. election infrastructure. That's unquote, but that's some statement, isn't it? Made by supposedly great patriots of our country. The document goes on to further state that, quote, we assess that centralized election-related data repositories, such as voter registration databases, poll books, and other official election websites, are most vulnerable to exploitation, and adversaries could use this access to these systems to disrupt election processes within the United States of America. Tonight, we're releasing all of those findings and spanning from January 2020 to June 2026. This is a cyber threat aimed at the very heart of our democracy. Many people have questioned whether it could actually be possible to electronically manipulate vote totals or change election results on these terrible machines. Today, we are releasing documents that show the CIA obtained reporting of a specific plot to do a big number in favor of the corrupt Maduro regime in Venezuela. And that's exactly what happened, conspiring to digitally rig their own country's elections in 2020, and that's what they did. This reporting included precise details about methods to regime develop to digitally alter vote totals in ways that could not be detected even with an audit, no matter how deep they went. This intelligence underscores why we must take urgent action to ensure that our own system can never, ever be hacked or compromised like it was in the past. The fourth set of documents reveals that even when significant evidence of fraud has been detected, it has been buried and covered up. Among the disclosures tonight are FBI files detailing evidence of alleged fraud by a large-scale voter registration operation in Michigan. In 2020, Michigan State Police raided a Democrat Get Out the Vote organization, corrupt group in Muskegon. And we're so concerned by what they found. They were just so concerned. They couldn't believe it, actually, that they contacted the FBI in Detroit. The documents state that some canvassers admitted to FBI agents that they signed voter registration forms in other people's names, submitted fraudulent registration for people who did not exist, and received gift cards tied to their number of applications that they produced. In other words, it was pay, play, and cheat. The FBI agents working on the case believe that crimes were committed, yet the Biden Department of Justice slow-walked the investigation and killed it. Tonight, I'm asking the FBI director to ensure that the matter is fully investigated and to work with the Department of Justice to prosecute those responsible for any crimes. Finally, to reveal just how vulnerable our elections continue to be, we are releasing the results of a stunning investigation by the Department of Homeland Security. According to the DHS review, state voter rolls and public records, they identified approximately 278,000 non-citizens who are registered to vote in federal elections. Since Democrat states refuse to share their voter files, the real number is actually much higher than that. Yet, even this limited analysis found more than 250,000 foreigners illegally registered to vote. Put together, these disclosures reveal an election system so broken and so vulnerable that no one can possibly defend it. It is not defensible. Hundreds of millions of U.S. voter files are in the hands of foreign governments. Our machines and ballot counting systems are exposed to hacking and manipulation and corruption. China and other countries have been trying to meddle in our elections. Evidence of fraud has been buried. Hundreds of thousands of non-citizens and dead people are listed and active on the voter rolls. And yet we still have elections with no voter ID, no proof of citizenship, and tens of millions of ballots floating aimlessly through the mail. As one example of the insanity, California's recent election for mayor of LA and governor was held on June 2nd, a long time ago, but it was just completed a few days ago on July 10th. Think of that, much more than 1 month. Took a month to count the votes. I wonder what they were doing. This is worse than any third world country. There's no third world country that has elections like we have. In a rare move, NBC and ABC Fake News have both said that they would not cover this speech. They knew what it was about. because of the fact that they don't like the topic, because they know how corrupt our system is and they don't want to reveal it. They and others in the media are part of a plot. They want to continue this fraud for whatever reason. They want to keep it going. They want to protect the radical left. They can't have a great country, and that's true. You can't have a great country without free and fair elections. Fraud like this should mean a revocation of their licenses. They use our public multi-billion-dollar in value airways for absolutely no money. They pay nothing. All we want is honesty in our elections and honesty in reporting. They pay nothing for multi-billion-dollar assets. Great damage has been done to our country. Our elections were left vulnerable to being rigged and stolen, and the trust of the American people was lost. This cannot be allowed to continue. Every American, whether you're a Republican, Democrat, Independent, or otherwise, should be able to agree that we deserve the most secure, honest, and fair election system anywhere in the world. Secure elections should be a partisan, we should be together, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, everybody. And it should not be a partisan issue. It should cause to unite us, not to divide us. This should be a cause. We should be united, not divided. In light of the brand new and irrefutable information I have revealed tonight, my administration is in the process of notifying the states whose election data was compromised by the People's Republic of China and many others. We will be working closely to mitigate any harm, and we're taking swift action to ensure that sensitive voter data is better protected so we can never be bought, we can never be hacked, and we can never watch a stolen election again. Tomorrow, the Secretary of Homeland Security will hold a briefing to outline his department's recent work confirming cyber vulnerabilities in our electronic voting systems. They are bad. We're in the process of informing governors, senators, and members of Congress of potential issues in their states. If you look at voting today, it's in such bad shape in so many states, and we are committing to fix it. And we're also committing to be working with those states and local jurisdictions to help them fix and patch known technical vulnerabilities before the midterm elections. We have very important elections coming up. We want those elections to be honest. I've also ordered DHS to notify every state about non-citizens on their voter rolls and direct them to remove all ineligible voters from the lists immediately. But most importantly, addressing this crisis of election security demands that Congress must pass the Save America Act. How easy is that to do unless you want to cheat? The only reason you wouldn't do it is you want to cheat because your policies are so bad and your candidates are so pathetic that you can't get away or can't get elected any other way. This landmark bill requires that all voters must show photo voter ID. How simple is that? Could I have your photo, please? Photo voter ID. All voters must provide proof of citizenship. Are you a citizen of our country, please? And hopefully there will be no corrupt mail-in ballots, which if you watched California and so many other places, mail-in ballots are inherently corrupt. So you would have no mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military deployment, or travel if you're going away on business or vacation. These reforms are urgently needed to stop the vulnerabilities that I've mentioned. To all Americans, I ask you to pick up your phone tomorrow, call your representatives in the House and Senate, and demand that they pass the Save America Act without delay. Together, we will restore faith and confidence in our country, and we will be bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. Thank you. God bless you. God bless our great military, and God bless America. Thank you very much.
Wow. Okay. No questions.
I'm
Can't hear
glad
you.
that wasn't any longer. Than
Yeah, I know.
I was so happy about that. All right. I'll I gotta say this. Everything I thought he would talk about, he did. He mentioned the 3 countries I said he was going to mention, which was Russia, China, and Iran, and he also brought up North Korea. He also mentioned about Venezuela, which I figured he would do that too. Yeah. And it was a pitch to try to get people out there to vote too, and also try to pass the SAVE Act, like you said too.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Like I said,
I would say we went our conversation at the beginning. We're 100% right what he was going to do.
Yeah, we were spot on pretty much. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, William, what'd you think?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, I was a little late getting here. My apologies. But we had talked a little bit prior on the phone, during work hours earlier, and just something that we you guys both kind of, touched on. I was like, yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a pitch. Trying to reinvigorate that because that was James earlier said that's what brought us all together, and it did. We were all united on the fact that we've seen a extremely manipulated election, and it got people doing making content and actually working hard on the grassroots level to invigorate a voter base to go out there and expose what's going on and try to overcome it. It's a lot of energy, and that energy didn't just go away. That energy was shoved to the curb when people started noticing they weren't getting what they voted for, even though because I don't want to go on long too much, but I'm just trying to I'm rehash a little bit of some of the stuff that I went through.
You're completely right. I think really it started escalating a lot. It had to do with Epstein files, definitely, and then Iran war just capped it off, and it just. Absolutely, I think blew up MAGA and blew up the idea of that and of winning the midterms.
It wouldn't have been as bad as if somebody hadn't went out and said, "If you're worried about Epstein, I don't need you. I don't want you. Go away. You low IQ people." I'm like,
yeah.
Trump
If you're worried about inflation, I don't want your
yeah.
Or if you're worried about HB1 visas and them taking your jobs, and without these HB1 visas, we wouldn't have people in here that could actually do any work. I mean, he said that.
Yeah, he said that. These people around here aren't capable of doing that.
There's also the part, like you're saying, William. People kind of get tired, worn out about things not happening, but some of it. You got to give some of it, to the president that he's getting hit every time he starts moving towards something that we really wanted, and he gets nailed by the opposition. And
it's not only the opposition; it's his own party.
Yeah.
It's his own party too is a problem.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, perfect example is the SAVE Act. It's his own party in the Democrat Party. It's the establishment in both wings that's the problem. And the reason is because me and William talked about this on our last live we did on Thursday. I think there's an algorithm set up with these machines and also with the mail-in ballots and the voter registrations. That's the reason they don't want to clean them up. They have it set for when it's the presidency where whatever whoever's head in registrations will win the presidency when it comes to popular vote. Okay. Now, the electoral college is a little different, but they'll win. Like perfect example is how not Kamala Harris, but Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by 2% in 2016, but Trump won the electoral college. That's a perfect example of the algorithm I'm talking about. In order for Democrats to win the electoral college, they have to win at least 4 to 5% in the popular vote because of where they have all their population located, and for them to win certain states. But they can
do all the best manipulating.
Yes, but the algorithm is set when it comes to state races, more like if you're an incumbent, it's going with the incumbent every time. You know what I'm saying? And that's the reason it's so hard to beat an incumbent. The only way you beat incumbents is actually in primaries. You know, in the primaries, whenever you have the primary elections, and that's the reason Democrats have been taken out was the primaries, and also Republicans.
Is that just a question? Is that why you see like the move to try to get away from doing primaries lately, especially the Democrat Party? They kind of try to slide
I
back.
was just going to say that.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think you're going to see it with the Republican Party too, especially with Lindsey Graham's seat. I don't think there's going to be primary. I think it's going to be. I think his sister's going to be anointed as the primary, as the person who's going to be in the general election. They're not going to have a primary for that.
And see, and this is so like maybe this is the tactic. I'm going way off into the weeds here. So what if just they don't want to admit Lindsey Graham's got pink misted, so they can use his sister as just I don't know. Yeah, anyway, so maybe he did.
Here's the thing. If he got pink misted, Ukraine would have used that to their advantage to convince the United States to get more involved, give more money to them, and so on and so forth. Yeah. There's reasons. Now, let's say if he just had a heart attack in Ukraine, which I think could be a possibility, especially when you hear about what his problem was, which when I heard it, my first response is like, that sounds like to me he took too much Fauci juice. That's just my opinion.
The Fauci sauce got an ass.
Yes. But anyway, but I think more than likely, if it would have happened, like during an airstrike by Russia, the Ukrainians would have used that to their advantage to get the United States more involved in their war against Russia. And, that's just my opinion. I think he died at home in his apartment, his apartment in D.C. I think he did.
Yeah.
He was overtaken by ladybugs.
I think most people, maybe got sucked off by some ladybugs, and that's what finished his heart off. I don't know, but
like they started. They just came and just overtook his whole body. Started from the rectum all the way around. But
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
Yeah,
I was just laughing.
I was thinking, another thing that really hurt Trump's movement was all the years of the never Trumpers, like the Grahams, the Levins, and all these people
that weren't asked to say that.
Yeah. And Trump is, anointing these people as these wonderful creatures, like Mark Levin's a good guy. Quit coming off on the dude. Lindsey Graham, cramming Lindsey Graham. There's a lot of people who, the energy was to get rid of the establishment. That's what we wanted for Trump. And then Trump endorses the establishment. All the people that were against him, that, Mark Levin, Lindsey Graham are just the two that I can think of right off because those are the two most prominent voices.
Yeah.
But whenever the manipulated election occurred, all the stuff that Trump was just talking about, they were.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Those two right there were mocking everybody on MAGA for trying to say the elections weren't legitimate. Mark Levin, and a lot more people, but I'm just naming those two because those two are the two people that Trump told all of MAGA base to start making love to because this is our guy. These two are our guys now.
No,
and all the MAGA base was like,
they're real MAGA. That's what.
There you go.
There you go. This is what I think why Trump actually supports these establishment types, these neocons, Zionists. Why he supports them? It's because they win elections and he wants to be a winner. And so he's going to go with whoever he thinks is going to win by the polls and also by what people are telling him when it comes to elections, especially if they're incumbents. So the thing is, he wants to have a good percentage because he want to make it out like he's a winner. So that's what it's about. And sometimes he takes chances. Perfect example is Mike Lindell in Minnesota. He's taking a chance supporting him as the Republican nominee for governor. He's going to win the nomination. Now, Trump has actually full endorsed him now. Now, is he going to win against Amy Klobuchar, who's going to be running, who's the senator from there? I don't think so.
Yeah, because she runs the elections.
Well, she's a senator. She don't run the election. She's not the.
No, I'm just saying she's got her. Same thing with Katie Hobbs. She was
Well, she's not Secretary of State. Katie Hobbs is Secretary of State. She was running her own election, which was crazy, and that shouldn't be happening. Just like if you look at Republicans do the same thing. Perfect example is Brian Kemp. When he ran for governor, he was the Secretary of State when he ran the first time. And I'm like this. At the time, I didn't think anything of it because I wasn't really paying attention to elections at the time. This is over 8 years ago. Wasn't paying attention. But now I pay attention, and I'm like this. Secretary of States who are running for a higher office should not be running their own election. That's just my opinion. It's conflict of interest right there.
Well, I mean, any shenanigans that might take place, they're gonna be like, it's okay.
They might be propaganda. They might be doing it,
Exactly.
Pushing it.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of things I noticed he didn't bring up about American elections. I found I watched Patrick Barnes. I think his name Robert Barnes. You know who he is? And and he was on Mario Naval's show, and they talked about the U.S. elections. Now, I completely agree. This is his problem with U.S. elections, and Trump didn't mention these two problems. I think that need to be fixed. Here, let me go ahead and bring it up. It's not.
Is it being the China making everything and then running it through Taiwan? So and then encrypting their stuff.
No, it's not that. No.
Huh? But they do that.
Well, yeah.
Good one. Ask how are you? I want to know how's your week been? How's your day?
Well, it's sort of my going. I would say good. They made T-shirts out of it, mugs out of it. We can talk about what the Thursday speech is and isn't about. Because
that's a good one. Exactly. Yeah. Trump even commented on it just a few minutes ago, didn't he?
Because it's during the war, Trump can get more attention to what he's going to speak about, and people are assuming it's about the war. My understanding from people in the White House is it's not about the war. He's going to talk about how the 2020 election was stolen. So he's using the opportunity of the attention for the war to get media attention so he can get more audience than he normally would. But he's not actually going to talk about the war. He's going to talk about how the Georgia senators are illegitimate because all the 2020 elections were stolen in a bunch of different places. I don't know where it's going to go from there, but basically that's going to be my understanding is that's what he's planning on speaking on.
Yeah, well, he said it himself. He said it in a meeting, a bizarre meeting with the Prime Minister of Iraq. He said, what we're going to be talking about Thursday, it doesn't get bigger because without free and fair elections, you don't have a country. We'll be discussing other things too, but it's going to be a very big announcement. So yeah, it's interesting. He is good at marketing. But so just briefly, I want to focus on Iran, but if you could just kind of summarize this for me. What about the 2020 elections? I thought we're done with that drama. What about the senators there? Someone sent me a message, my team, they sent me a message saying it's something to do with two senators and Trump is trying to achieve something and that will be the first time that's ever been done by a president, something along those lines.
I mean, he always builds up these things, so you never know for sure if it will actually deliver. But he likes the drama and the tension and the buildup. But my understanding is going to say that the 2020 election was stolen. What was happening was Tulsi Gabbard was doing a deep dive into a range of issues related to the 2020 election. And because she got, whatever your take is, resigned early, pushed out, my understanding she got pushed out early, that she didn't get to finish that report. And it was going to be her announcing that report. So now Trump is going to take the work that she did and sort of kind of rush it into public domain a little bit earlier than it's really ready for. In hopes
she got pushed out. He had cancer for a while.
And now he's going to say the 2020 was election. I think he's going to blame in part China, is my understanding. That they found evidence of Chinese interference at different levels. I'm not sure how persuasive this evidence is. My own view, I mean, I represented Trump during part of the 2020 election challenge at the beginning, and our focus was on whether constitutionally qualified people voted. In other words, by the rules for the presidency, by the state legislature passed, was it only people that were constitutionally qualified that voted, whether the way they voted was constitutionally qualified, and whether the way the vote was counted in canvass constitutionally qualified. And that was mostly about mail-in ballots. It was about people who voted who weren't properly registered or registered in multiple states, were 17 years old and weren't 18 yet, were convicted felons in some states, things like that. And in some cases, there were some dead people that were listed as having voted after they had died. And then you had categories of votes that the way in which they voted they didn't vote in the proper manner, that the custody of the ballot wasn't properly maintained. There were other people who picked it up and dropped it off who weren't qualified to do so, that the way in which it was signed didn't match the signature on their voter files, and that they didn't count and canvass the ballots correctly because they didn't match the signatures in making sure the ballots were properly cast in the first place. That had nothing to do with China. My understanding is that when Ratcliffe was at ODNI in 2020, he believed that there was evidence that China had done things to try to interfere with the election, kind of like the Democrats' version of Russia in 2016. I never saw that evidence, so I don't know if there is any evidence, but my guess is he's going to include that in it. And the focal point is Georgia, and he's going to, in that cycle, that was the first time both Ossoff and I'm blanking on his last name, both won that cycle. Two Democratic senators won. He's going to say they were illegitimately elected and illegally elected. Now, I don't know if he has a plan to propose to the Senate expel them or something, but that might be
and
where
one of them. And my team, what they told me exactly is that John Ossoff, he's the one of the leading candidates on the Democratic ticket, one of the Dem presidential possibilities. He's the nominee likelihood based on Kalshi was 2 days ago. John Ossoff was at 14%, Gavin Newsom 20%, AOC at 15%. One final quick question on this, because I do want to focus on what's happening in Iran, because a lot is happening on that front. But it's a very broad question. I know we could do a whole episode on this, but it's something I've never really covered. How free and fair are America's elections?
Well, I would say they're particularly unfair in qualifying for the ballot. So this is an issue that arises with Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie and others considering a third party or independent presidential challenge. You saw with Robert Kennedy. Overwhelmingly, a majority of Americans wanted Robert Kennedy to be included on the ballot. And he got as much as 20% of the vote, depending on the time in the state, for the presidency in 2024. And yet he was being excluded systematically from ballots on all kinds of bogus grounds. You know, challenging whether his residency was really California or New York, challenging who did a signature on a certain day, who gathered a signature on a certain day, even though all the public opinion polls said we want to have the option of Kennedy on the ballot.
Right.
So it is harder to get on the ballot for the presidency of the United States and all 50.
Do you recall, speaking about Kennedy Jr., that when he decided to step down and back President Trump, that they wouldn't take him off because they wanted to use his independent to try to split the vote? You remember that?
Well, here's the thing. They didn't want to take him off in certain states. Most of
them certain states. Yeah.
It was like Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin. It was the states that they're fighting over to win. Yeah. So. Yeah.
They wanted. They were like, he was like, okay. A lot of people are like, you're not being on, you're not running. And then when he finally gets in there was we're not taking you off now. It's like, dang. I remember that.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
Well, I'll tell you right now, it didn't hurt Trump any having them on there still. So
no, but I just recall the crazy shenanigans that they were pulling
These states than it is to get on the ballot for the presidency of Russia, than it is to get on the ballot the presidency of Iran and others considering bogus grounds. You know, challenging whether his residency was really California or New York, challenging who did a signature on a certain day, who gathered a signature on a certain day, even though all the public opinion polls said we want to have the option of Kennedy on the ballot. So it is harder to get on the ballot for the presidency of the United States in all 50 states than it is to get on the ballot for the presidency of Russia, than it is to get on the ballot the presidency of Iran. Those voters will have more choices for presidency than the presidency of the United States of America in all 50 states. It makes our legal system a joke in terms of electoral. And I've been representing those people for a quarter century, represented everybody in that context: Constitution Party, Peace and Freedom Party, Libertarian Party, Ralph Nader, Robert Kennedy, Jill Stein, you name it, Libertarian Party, et cetera. I've represented them at one time or another. And they go through great shenanigans to exclude people from the ballot, particularly for the presidency as a third party or independent candidate. Or take Kentucky. Thomas Massie in many states could run as an independent. He's not allowed to in Kentucky. He's not allowed. If you lose your primary, you're then banned from the general election ballot. That's denying voters choices. That's all that is. They disguise it as, it's necessary for printing the ballot and publishing the ballot and all this hogwash. Through most of American legal history, we never even had a state-controlled ballot. That didn't happen until the late 20th century. And then when they did, they said, don't worry, we'll never use this to exclude people from the ballot. And what did they start doing? Excluding people from the ballot. So on that side, the legal rules are rigged for the two-party system to monopolize the ballot, especially at the presidential level. In terms of how the ballots are counted,
And the thing is, if you look at when they started really doing that, they really started doing that back after the 1812 election, whenever you had Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt, run in a third party, the Bull Moose Party against the Democrat and Republican Party. Then they started actually doing that, and then it accelerated after what happened with Ross Perot in 92 and 96. And now it's nearly impossible for you to get on the ballot in every 50 all 50 states if you're a third party candidate. That includes also parties that have been around a long time, like the Libertarian Party or the Freedom Party or even the Green Party.
Yeah. So a question, and it's just a question, but we know, Matt, we've talked about algorithms and the machines, and so basically, it's in their best interest to keep the selections at a minimum so that they can facilitate algorithms.
Well, that's reason the algorithm only works with two people on the ballot for that particular position.
Right.
If you notice, the Libertarian Party back before 2008, they would get anywhere from 2 to 5% of the vote. Now they're getting less than 1%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have a feeling a lot of those votes are probably being switched over to the Republican or Democrat Party. The same with the Green Party, same with also the Constitutional Party, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, just something that kind of popped in my mind. I was like, it's not just they not that they just want to take choices away, but basically we've got an algorithm we've got to keep up with, and we can't have these other variables that aren't controllable. And so let's keep it simple, write these people off, and we'll use excuses for doing such. And it's almost like you say, after Ross Perot, because that's whenever when did Chavez implement their voting machines? That was around the same time as Clinton was.
No, we didn't get voting machines in the United States until 2008.
Right.
That was after the whole crazy crap that happened in Florida in 2000 when you had hanging Chad and shit like that.
But I'm saying, but like in Venezuela, was it Venezuela with Hugo Chavez? That's where the voting machines kind of became a.
Yeah, but that was back in. I think that started around 2005. That's
okay.
When it really started.
I was just trying to think.
Yeah,
I was thinking maybe like
that's where a lot of the Dominion and stuff like that came from. Yeah.
So I was just thinking, just in my head, they to implement these machines, it just wasn't like 1 minute they were just doing it this way and here comes the machines. It was like, we're going to be doing this in the next few years, so let's go ahead and start running numbers and calculating numbers. And they probably started that years before that, which means so maybe they needed to start getting data together right after Ross Perot.
When it really started was not after Ross Perot, though. That's when because this doesn't affect that. Okay, when it really started was after the 2000 election with hanging Chad and stuff like that. Ross Perot, what they did with after Ross Perot, what Ross Perot did, getting about 19% of the vote in 92. When they saw that, they started making it restricting elections for these third-party candidates, so they couldn't get on the ballot and mess up the algorithm. The thing is, if a third-party candidate gets on there, the algorithm's screwed. It's not going to stay the same, because especially if they're going to win 10 to 19% of the votes, that's going to change that algorithm tremendously to the point it's a crapshoot who's going to win. That's the reason Democrats make such a big deal if a Green Party candidate wins more than 2% of the votes. That's the reason they make such big shit about it, because at that point, that's actually getting into their algorithm when it comes to their vote and making it harder for them to actually have a chance of winning the electoral college. 2% is a big deal for them. Because
yeah.
because if they like Hillary Clinton, she won the popular vote in 2016 by 2%, but the third party candidates that took a lot of votes from her won about 3 or 4% of the vote. So if she would have gotten a portion of that, she would have won the presidency by getting those votes to come to her, and she would have won the electoral college at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I said you'll see. I think that, in my opinion, maybe they're just that's why they're like, man, we really got to make sure we don't have any independents, and we've got to be really cautious who runs for Republican and Democrat, so we can, because we've got a number we've got to achieve here. And the thing that's really demoralizing this is Trump said, "Hey, I'm recommending." I want recommended criminal charges by the DOJ, the CIA, all these people. And I'm like, but those are the ones that are kind of doing this. They're not gonna, they're, and then, this is stuff that he's been sitting on.
Well,
before this doesn't go.
Here's what kills me about that speech. He's talking about them doing this investigation. The one that did most of the legwork was Tulsi Gabbard. He didn't even give her credit for it.
No. And like you said, she got ran out of there.
Yeah, she got ran out of there.
So let's go to that real quick, seeing as you're talking about that. What in your minds, in the background, is giving you that feeling that she got railroaded or pushed out? Now, I know I mentioned that her husband had cancer, but you said that he'd had it for quite some time.
Yes. Yeah. They already knew.
Is that not a legitimate reason? I mean, I just don't take it that she would just back off, and I don't know. She just seems too tough to, unless they got something on her.
Go ahead.
She saw what happened to Joe Kent whenever he spoke his mind. I mean, he quit, but she, I think, is a real player. She's not somebody who is going. She's. I don't know. I'm just saying, in my opinion, it looks to me like she was really trying to do something.
Yes.
And that meant that she you got to remember, her and Joe Kent were looking into some foreign involvement with Charlie Kirk's, assassination that got shut down by Kash Patel.
Also foreign involvement in Trump's assassination attempts.
Yes, which he shut down.
That got shut down too, which he shut down.
Yeah. And there was probably information related to what was actually going on in the Department of Justice that she knew about that was slow walking other investigations that needed to be done so that she could actually finalize these reports. And she's going to report on that. And she was pretty much given an ultimatum. And this is actually from insiders that knew what was going on. This information was leaked to certain journalists that I keep up with that I know are legitimate. She just pretty much knew that she couldn't stay there. So she had to leave out and use it, and couldn't say, I'm leaving because of this, and this. She just used her husband's illness as an excuse because she didn't want Trump and the administration to character assassinate her like they did Joe Kent. Because I feel like she's got some aspirations in the future that she'd like to do. And so I think she kind of just backed down with the dollars that she has. Her office got hit up by the CIA, and they took a bunch of MK Ultra documents that she had. This was a while back, but this happened.
It's about a year ago when that
right, and so she realized that she wasn't. Trump thought if he put her in that position that she would just be a Pam Bondi, and then come to find out, he was like, "Oh crap, she's actually working." She's
Well, here's also the other thing: she didn't agree with everything he did. The first thing that she disagreed with him on was what he did in Venezuela, and then at that point, he didn't bring her into any kind of situation room event that would have to do with foreign involvement, whether it be Cuba or Iran, but. Not only that, she went to Congress and they asked her about Iran having nuclear weapons. And she's saying there's no evidence showing that they are even trying to create nuclear weapons, which is true. and there hasn't been any evidence. Yes, they got 60% enriched uranium, and people are concerned about them using those for nuclear weapons. Well, I'm telling you right now, that's a really heavy nuclear weapon. You needed to get around 80 or 90, and then it's lighter. It can go on a missile. The only way you're gonna be able to use 60% enriched uranium as a weapon is you're gonna have to drop it out of a plane or drive it in a big ass car, okay, or vehicle, and make a I guess a makeshift nuclear device and blow it up that way. But anyway, my opinion,
Or sell it on the open market.
yeah, well, but that ain't what they're going to do. Here's the other thing. I think that this is how her and Joe Kent were looking at it. They're like this: look, you've already bombed the hell out of their enriched uranium area where you had to enrich uranium at. Why actually attack them or invade them or do anything? Why don't you just have it set where, like, if y'all go near this place, we're gonna bomb it again. So anytime they touch the area, whether it be with equipment or just with people, bomb it again, because you have the capabilities. I mean, you have satellite. You can actually watch it 24/7. There's no reason.
Well, you could use the Israeli direct energy weapons, not the Jewish space lasers, but the Israeli.
You know my stance on that. I don't believe any of that. But anyway,
I don't know. They do have.
Well, don't get me wrong. They have lasers, but so does the United States they have lasers on their ships and stuff. But I just look at it like, yeah, satellites, you can watch that 24/7. You know exactly what's going on in that place. Not only that, they have all sorts of other technology where they can see underground too. You're telling me you don't know if that stuff is there? Of course they do. Of course they do. And here's the thing: you're going to risk actually, price of oil. You're going to risk the dollar. You're going to risk all of this just for this. It would make more sense. So after you've done that, you put a secure bubble around the area with a television net, which what you'd be using is
use the same tactics for intelligence that they did for October 7th. Worked for
yeah. I mean that's pretty much it. And I watched this one video, and this Israeli commander. He is a former commander. He was talking about like all the United States has to do is this, and they can put troops in Iran. And I'm like, well, if it's so damn easy, why didn't Israel do it?
Yeah,
that would be my reaction. I'm like this. Yeah. If it's so fucking easy, you do it. See how well it works. I'm like this. Look, we're not benefiting from this. It's actually hurting us in general because in order to keep the price of oil low, we have to go to our strategic reserves to do that. I mean, if you want to see how bad things are, you got to go and look at other markets because right now they have the oil markets completely tampered like they do the gold and silver markets. They have used paper to create oil somehow. And that's the reason oil is so cheap. Not only that, the U.S. is selling it way below how much it's worth. And if you look at I think phosphorus, perfect example. If you look at the price of phosphorus compared to what it was before the war, it's absolutely astronomical how much it costs. And it's because it's a market that has been manipulated by these paper shares like they have done with oil. But anyway, there's a little bit more of this video we can watch that's interesting about elections. If you want to go back to it,
to centralize and to cage and enslave the masses by utilizing supposed declassification. That's actually not a bad take, sweetheart.
Here's me and Dave. I talked to you on the phone about this, and I'm like, look, this is a way for them to try to convince people like me, William, Dave, to go and vote for Republicans, even though they haven't done shit. Really,
Yeah. Well, we kind of, well, they, that's China. And
Well, here's the thing: we've kind of known about that for a while. None of that was surprising. And not only did they get involved in our elections, they got involved in Britain's elections. But Britain actually told the British people. They were actually honest about what happened. That happened back in like 2022 when they announced what happened.
Yeah.
In the United States under Biden's when Biden was in office, they decided to hide this shit. And the reason is because I think they thought the Republicans would use it as like a Russiagate type thing, like they did to Trump. And what I found interesting is another group he said that's doing this to the United States is Russia. And I'm like, so Russiagate's real? What? And I'm like, this. It's not. Go ahead.
I don't think Russia really has been doing much stuff like that because everybody else has been doing it for them. They put it in the dummies.
Here's the other thing: even if Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea is doing that, how are we to judge them when we do the same thing and the EU does the same thing to everybody else as well?
Yeah,
I'm not. I mean, we do this all the time and interfere in people's elections all the time worldwide. I mean, that's where
I know we've been doing it for years.
Yeah, CIA.
And it's like, how can you get mad at another country when you've been doing it the whole time?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's hypocrisy. That's.
Yeah.
She says she got my sauce. I got my sauce.
Well, but she's on point with that. A lot of that. I'm proud of this good take on that, sweetheart. And fortunately, it's not going to work. I think that would be the best. Trump's like, okay, maybe I can get these MAGA dummies to fall for this shit again. And what he's going to find out is I wouldn't be surprised if Trump's poll numbers either stay the same or get a little bit lower after the speech.
Well, don't get me wrong. I think the election was stolen in 2020. I think.
Well, we all know that, but
the thing is, I don't like the idea of being manipulated. That's number one, and that's what that speech was. That's a manipulative speech.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, I also don't like the idea. This is happening. You haven't prosecuted anybody yet. You haven't done anything to show you're going to do that. Not only that, you haven't went after any deep staters or anything else.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, see, Trump could say. Well, it's my. Go ahead, Dave. Sorry. I was just going to say Trump would use it. I'm sorry, he told me to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead. Trump would use this opportunity to blame his crappy Justice Department as to why nothing's happened, and we're not falling for that anymore either because we know that he knows better.
He has control of that thing. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, Dave. Yeah, and like you said, we're all sitting back wondering. Well, all these allegations, and yet nothing has happened about nothing. And if it's that obvious as he is making it out to be, we would already have people in jail or being indicted or something. So that's a big problem when it comes to the believability of the long-term thing. I mean, it just kind of takes away from the movement, you might say.
Oh yeah, like I said earlier, I think either Trump's going to look at his poll numbers after this speech, maybe the next day or so, and see how things go. And I wouldn't be surprised if it just stayed the same or went down. If it stays the same, not good. If it goes down, really not good. The whole time, maybe it might have been a month. They started about 2 weeks, but a month after Pam Bondi being in office, everybody started going to Twitter and going, "Hey, what's up with the arrests?" And you get the MAGA base that would attack those. How dare you? There's a plan. And then 2 months into it, where's the arrest? And then more of the da 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 da. And then next thing you know, here we are to where she's actually stepped down from office. And now nobody's really even fussing at Todd Blanche because it seems like people just given up, even worried about it now because we realize it's just not going to happen.
Yeah,
Todd Blanche
that's kind of where I'm at with it. I'm like this. Well, I don't even talk about it.
Yeah, not wasting my fingertips poking these buttons.
Yeah, statute of limitations is over for a lot of these people, and they allowed it to surpass.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just looking at it, and I'm like this. Look, obviously, the point of the speech was to try to convince people to go out there and vote. That's number one. And try to convince people that there's still something you could do to change what's going on in politics. And I'm sorry, you could call these people till they're blue in the face. Perfect example is my senator that's running right now. It's Shelley Capito. All right, she's an establishment freaking moron. And I'm sorry, I didn't want her as the nominee, but that's what I got. And I'm not voting for the woman. I'm not going to go out there and waste my time, drive my car, waste my gas, which is over $4 a gallon right now because of Trump's war in Iran, and go there and vote for this dumb bitch who's going to go and do the same thing she's always been doing and voting against what's best for the United States people, as well as what's better for me, and passing that SAVE Act. She's one of the people that won't vote for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, that's it. And, Ted Budd voted for the CIA to integrate their intelligence with the stupid Israel. That's North Carolina senator. These are people.
So Tom Tillis. The other one.
Tom, piece of crap. He's, and I remember calling these people's office because Bud is in my district. And having a heart-to-heart conversation with his associates or whatever these people are, and I explained in detail how dangerous this is, and of course in the recorded phone call made sure that I let them know I am not do not hate Jewish people. I said we've got a problem with a corrupt government that's operating with our corrupt government, and we don't need these two people fraternizing with our money. And of course, all that was written down, balled up, thrown in the trash so he could hop his little behind right over there and click the A button. And that's just a slap in the face, because I'm almost certain that even if a boomer wants this, you as a person who understands Americans' policies and sovereignty and security, and you had more boomers saying vote for this, you would for the sacredness of this country, you would vote no, because you realize that, if I'm not mistaken, I said it in my little comment earlier, so the Pentagon lists that country as a very high threat to our sovereignty and our intelligence and our safety. So we don't need these people in our military. We don't need them in our CIA. What who was it that sold some jets to another country and then put software in there coded so that country that they sold the jets to couldn't fire on them?
It's like a backdoor safety.
Right. They backdoored equipment so that the country they sold it to could never use it on them if there was ever a conflict, which is fine and all that. But the thing is like, if we integrate all of our military intelligence and weaponry with Israel stuff, and something to finally people wake up and say, wait a minute, we've got a problem. Israel is being very threatening to us. We need to back away. Then ensues some kind of conflict, and we try to use our weaponry, but it's been backdoored where we cannot use it against these people. We're screwed. And they would do that.
Well,
I'm more, I don't disagree with you on that, but I think the real problem I have with the idea of this, if you look at the past of what they have done when it comes to material that they have got from us, whether it's intelligence or just material when it comes to technology, they've either sold to Russia or to China. And I'm like this. I'm like, with someone with that kind of track record, they shouldn't be our greatest ally. I'm telling you right now, that's crazy. Our greatest ally, in my opinion, is Britain and France. It's tied between those two countries. Britain, because, obviously they started the 13 colonies, so on and so forth. And France is because they actually helped us win the Revolutionary War. So that's the reason those two countries deserve to be called that. In my opinion, Israel is not on that list. And, if you, I don't even think they're in the top 10. I think Russia's at this point, but that's just my viewpoint.
I mean, you're not, I agree with you.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
America, blink twice if you're in trouble.
Probably shouldn't talk about this.
Oh yeah.
But
I mean, but you're not. You know,
yeah, I know I'm not, but it's it's just taboo, I guess, for people, to hear the truth.
well,
especially
it's
on
the
this
truth.
platform.
All the boomers, if they happen to watch this, are just upset. And the thing
Well,
about it
I'm
is,
telling
if
you
you're
right now,
upset,
you're
you're
going to get the
dumb
guy
as
in the
hell.
middle upset. He's a boomer.
You know, hey Dave, you remember that one time I was on your show live and Nina was on there and I explained to her that Cash Patel we've got big problems and she was mad at me.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
She got mad at me. She goes, "What is your proof?" I'm like, "Lady, okay."
I don't know. I guess I got to go back, watch the episode, and see what you're talking about.
You can see it's towards the end of it when I had Nina on there and I started explaining to her. I said this, and this, and I had a very serious because I seen it. This was right after Cash Patel and Bongino were like Epstein, lied to himself. The whole everything's a hoax, such and such and such and such. And then I said, Nina,
whoa! You're talking about the hostage video, right?
Yeah. This was right after that.
Fox News. They did on Fox
right,
News.
the hostage video. So this was off subject, but. At the time, but I forget why I got on this thing, but she was, kind of like everything is good to go. Trust the plan. I said, Nina, we've got problems. Cash Patel is absolutely insane. We've got problems. He's lying. We've got big problems. And she got mad at me.
Yeah, she's a real hardliner when it comes to. Yeah, I know.
But the thing was, the funny thing is, she sees I'm right now, though.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Some people are still blinded by what they wish things would be instead of what they really are. And I think they're hoping that this is just 5D chess or whatever, which in my opinion, he checkmated himself a long time ago.
That was funny, when you do your chest to death.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I'm going to have to get out of here. It's getting late. I know you look pretty tired too, William.
We're going to have to get off here. Guys, we really appreciate you guys checking us out.
I look tired right here, but I look good right here. If I stay back here, you're like, oh, he's fine.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't help your sunburn. Hey, hit that like button, comment, and share this out to everybody. And if you could, go check out Dave on his channel, Dave Diamond Cali, and go check out William on his channel. Ratchet Productions.
Yeah. And Will Fix It. Actually, Will Fix It is my favorite.
We'll fix it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, Will Fix It. Yeah, check that out.
We haven't. Sad thing is, we really haven't fixed anything. Everything is still a mess.
But you sure worked on a lot of stuff.
I'm trying.